That's one of the, you bring up a good point, but that's one of the, in my opinion, the values of being in a big box gym too, is the idea of mentorship. Like, you've got people that have been there, that have done it, that are actually, bringing in revenue and have clients, and they can kind of show you the ropes where
If they're willing to.
if they're willing to. But if you're going out on your own, you're not getting that opportunity, that same opportunity that you would in a big box gym. So I do think that's a good point. Yeah.
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 And then use it. Like, if you think that a big box gym is not going to be you forever, which it's not going to be for most people, unless you want to like move up that ladder to like,
Climb
I'm
the
going to
corporate ladder.
manage a branch of whatever, LA Fitness or Esporta, whatever it's called now, or I want to be like the East Valley Lifetime Fitness sort of like supervisor. Great. But I think if you know that eventually, like most of us do, I think most people who get into fitness are also relatively entrepreneurial. Then as soon as possible, it's like, I mean, take notes, think about who do you like to work with? Who seems to like working with you might even be more important.
Oh, heck yeah.
Who do you feel the most comfortable with?
Yep.
Right? It might be people, women 65 to 75, which is like a pretty lucrative market to be in.
Oh, I would say that's probably the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
females over the age of
70% of people who hire a personal trainer are women, and a vast majority of those are like 35 to 55.
Yep.
Like, it's not gonna
I would have said over 40. Yep.
It's not going to be 20 because they don't have any money.
When you're young and stupid, oftentimes you think, I just want to work with pros. That would be it. Get to the pro level. And a small bit about my background, I actually started with the NFL. I started with PEP, and I did that for about 4 years. Probably my least favorite demographic to work with are high level athletes. It's perfectly fine, and it's not a problem. I get why it attracts that, but you're talking about a subsect of people who are going to improve maybe 1 to 5%. People with oftentimes very large egotistical thought process around training around themselves. Young kid, $5 million in 1 year, who wouldn't be egotistical. It's a difficult group to fashion your entire niche around, but I also see the value in getting in with a mentor who's doing something like that. If you can find someone today, literally when I was getting us Dutch Bros, I pull up, the guy sees me in the truck and he's, I recognize you from TikTok. You're what's one thing? He's like, I'm trying to think about what's one thing I should do if I want to be a trainer? Like, what's the very first thing I should do? And I'm like, get a really good trainer. He's like, no, I want to be a trainer. I'm like, yeah, get a really, really good trainer. Like, find somebody who's ahead of you, get with them, have them work with you. I found Ian, and his place, he brought me on as an intern, but I also paid to be a client. And I did that for 4 years. That's what gave me the understanding of, okay, I don't think I want to do a big box gym experience like a lot of my peers are, but I also have been given a invaluable experience on how to program, how to periodize, and how these guys at the top, if I can figure out how to train Jeff Charleston, I can train the 45-year-old woman from Morrison Ranch, no problem. Absolutely. It's just kind of tapering it all down.
Yep. I completely agree. And I would say, don't be like, part of it is also, I think, being open-minded about that and not predetermining who your favorite client is going to be. That was like one of the things I ran to as a PT, like graduating from school. It's like, I thought I knew who I wanted to work with. And I sort of just like forced myself into that situation, even though once I'd done like my internships, that was probably my least comfortable setting, was like orthopedics.
Is that what you thought you wanted to do?
That's what I went to school to do.
Gotcha.
And then I ended up going back into like geriatrics and working with older people, like complex problems, but very simple treatments, and like built some confidence. And now I'm back in orthopedics, but I'm a confident therapist.
Right.
And I can understand, like, I don't feel personally responsible when people aren't necessarily getting better, where I'm much more patient and I can preach patience because I've got enough experience.
Yeah. Respect the process. Go ahead, Jake.
What words of advice would you have for like a young personal trainer trying to find their niche, like who they want to work with? What would you tell them?
Well, I think there's probably a couple ways. One would be, again, like, who do you enjoy working with?
Absolutely.
Who do you feel the most naturally comfortable around? I think that niche can change.
And be open to that. Be open to the possibility of changing your market, changing who you work with. If you get stuck, like if you'd just stayed with orthopedics and refused to change, probably wouldn't have happened the way that it did for you today.
No. And then I think, like, you'll get feedback from clients too. Like, who do you do the best with? Who re-ups? Like, who sticks with you for like 6 straight months? And then the one other thing I
Yeah.
would say would be, if you want to be a good professional in any industry, fitness counts as one of these for sure. It's like, what do you enjoy learning about? Because if you want to have a niche and develop a reputation as like the best person in the area for something, like you're gonna have to commit to learning about it
And loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
Becoming an
I
expert.
knew eventually I was going to get back into like sports and orthopedics as a physical therapist. Because even when I was working with like stroke patients and 95-year-olds with broken hips and all that kind of stuff, and I enjoyed my patient interactions, like I was still training people in a gym on the side, right? I'm like
Yeah.
reading strength and conditioning articles. I'm watching strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
I'm not going down the like stroke rehab rabbit hole and like can't wait for that 3-day acute stroke vestibular rehab course. Like
Yeah.
I was still working in skilled nursing when I took PPSC. Like I wasn't working in orthopedics. I was
Gotcha.
working with online clients and I was working in a gym
Yeah.
like 3 hours a week.
Uh-huh.
But those are the people I wanted to be around. I just needed to rebuild my confidence that I could treat them as patients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing to your point, figure out for this trainer, figure out what style of training you want to do. Figure out if you want to do one-on-ones exclusively. Do you want to do small group? Do you want to lead a boot camp? Do you want to be an online trainer? You need to figure that piece out. And just like with what kind of a niche do you want to create, you need to be open to the possibility of that changing. You need to be able to, hey, if I just go into this and I think, okay, I want to do one-on-ones and that's it. And that's it for me. I'm going to get to where I can charge 150 and that's it, the end of the road. And you never open up to the possibility of pivot. I think you leave a lot on the table.